It has been a long time since I've taken a good look across the Coachella Valley and into the San Bernardino Mountains. This is probably one of my favorite places in the region. There are a lot of great places to travel in inland Southern California, but I really like the area around Mission Creek here above Desert Hot Springs. By my reckoning, that's Kitching Peak off in the foreground, and behind it is Mount San Gorgonio, but I could be not entirely correct. But Kitching Peak is the closest peak to us, and I've been up there in the winter. It's quite a beautiful and spectacular hike. From behind there, on a clear day, you can see all the way down to the ocean from most of the San Bernardino Mountains, and I've seen some of those sites. So the trail in this whole area, the road up to Mission Creek itself and all this area, has been acquired by a land conservancy, and so fortunately it's not going to be developed in the near future. They have camping further up. I believe you have to make some kind of reservations, and it used to be free. And there's some historic structures up there, higher up Mission Creek. Up near, there's a notch. If you all stop looking straight ahead, there's a notch down, like a saddle off in the distance below the mountains, like the foothills, and it's up there. I've spent a lot of time with my companions out here, including my companions like the creosote. Boy, I love me some creosote. I've talked about this very hardy and wonderful plant over the years, and its properties that were used by folks that lived in these deserts, that called these deserts their home, long before the advent of the windmills and the freeways and the auto voitures that are speeding up Highway 62 right now. And the creosote sits here, definitely not silent, but kind of a watchful guardian of these foothills. Sage, and oh, there, I see a cholla up there in the distance right over here. I believe this is a teddy bear cholla, and there's whole, and I could be wrong, so I'm sure someone might want to correct me, but I believe this is a teddy bear cholla. And these little suckers, the little feet, little pieces will jump out at you. There's a big teddy bear cholla garden way beyond those hills in Joshua Tree National Park. Those hills make up part of the boundary of the park. Out to the east down there, over here to the north, is the Morongo Basin. Morongo, as I've talked before, named for the people, not the casino, for the people. The Moringa, translated to the people of Mara. And there's an oasis of Mara at 29 Palms, Joshua Tree Park. That's where the Moringa emerged from the earth, at that oasis out near 29 Palms. But these hills are just spectacular. Try and do a little, there we go. They're just spectacular. Beautiful, beautiful hills today after a recent rainstorm. That is Mount San Jacinto. Jacinto in Spanish is hyacinth. Very beautiful area to hike. Part of the San Bernardino Mountains, descending down into the Santa Rosa Mountains off in the distance in the desert out there. And we're coming around, we'll wrap around here, way down there in the distance. But Palm Springs is below us. Desert Hot Springs is directly this direction, just to give you an idea. And they're fairly far apart the valley from each other. And we can't even see farther down the valley. We're getting down into Indio and all those good places. But that's for another day. It is so peaceful, even with the roar of the highway and holiday travelers going home. It's so peaceful out here. I am very grateful to the Creator for giving me the chance to be on this land and travel it for so many years. And every time I come back here, I'm reminded, I'm both humbled and reminded of the simple beauty and the importance of just being out in the open like this. A gentleman I spoke with many years ago, Charles Wood, he was a Chemehuevi chief, leader of the folks out at Lake Havasu. And Charles and I stood out in the desert one day, and he said to me, you know, the greatest natural resource we have is silence. Having the ability to be quiet is worth more than gold. Especially in our modern, very busy, we live lives in our more acquisitive societies, particularly here in the United States. And we spend a lot of our time just buzzing from place to place, thinking that all those little roofs down there, within there lies something real. Within there lies something that is necessary. And those things are important. Within that, what's within those places is important. Our family, our connections to community. But the places themselves are merely shelters. And the illusion of being secure and safe while you're bolted up inside your house can be easily and quickly shattered by a quick walk across this valley. And I'm not talking safe in terms of I'm keeping mean people away, but just the distance between the constructed realities that we live in and the real reality that's around us, what you can stand upon, what you can physically examine and try to understand or derive some kind of, there we go, derive some kind of value or understand its use in your life. If you can gather plants and test knowledge, well, that's pretty real. That is empirical knowledge that is gathered and stored in our memories and shared with people. You know, as human beings, we're part of our wiring is to gather information. We're just like other animals. We gather information, we store it. What's useful, we use. Our brains, unfortunately, have a little more room for information that's not particularly useful. But that's sort of the curiosity of humanity, I guess. But before I get off on too big a tangent on that, just wandering through here and enjoying a day out in one of the most peaceful places in the area that you can get to. And even if it's off, you can still hear the traffic in the distance. But you can stand for a moment and you can hear the silence between your thoughts. That's some knowledge that came out of the Sonoran Desert one day long ago when I visited a ditch in where the legendary Ira Hayes lay dying. I have been so fortunate, so grateful to get to know the land, get to understand the connections between the cosmos, ourselves, and Mother Earth. And as flawed as human beings can be, and boy, I have my flaws, if we each day look to open our minds a little more, be a little more welcoming to people and their ideas, more understanding of ourselves, we will get through the toughest of times. Human beings are very resilient. We wouldn't have come as far as we have if we weren't resilient. I once asked about people, what does progress mean to you? And for every person I asked, I got a different answer. Progress to me, for a lot of people, progress is pavement. And it shows something, no pun intended, it shows something concrete. It shows something that you can travel on and feel. It has a certain reality to it. But it is, if you look at it from here, that's just a scar across the land. It's a hard surface. We're walking on a dirt road. It's a hard surface that people can travel on year-round for the most part. But the distance between that smooth, paved, modern road, the gap between that and, well, no civilization, or maybe a different civilization, or the gap between that couple of inches of blacktop and madness, savagery, whatever you want to call it, is very, very thin. It's a thin carapace. Most people in our societies couldn't live the lives that a lot of folks in other countries, literally, that don't have roads or good roads or infrastructure in a lot of their countries. Even large countries like Russia have far fewer roads than we have. We have chosen to pave our portion of the planet. And in ways, that's kind of what marks, the kind of people that we are in this country, that the majority, that's how they see progress. Well, that progress, of course, has shown its limitations, its flaws, and its unreliability. Take a look at these here telephone poles. These lines represent a physical connection of communication and power running off into the desert. That's it. Those skinny poles and those thin wires, that's it. And we oftentimes don't think about that. But out here, you are forced to think about how small and insignificant the development, the machinations, the creations of people on the land, how relatively insignificant they are in scale. And I think about that a lot. I think about the open space and the land that is here, and I've been to other parts of this country, and I've been to places like Mexico City where, they have nice parks, but there's not a lot of open space. I've been to places in New Mexico where you can't get off the road. Everything is fenced off, privately, publicly, or owned by tribes. And we're very fortunate, I've said this many times, to live in Southern California, where you can just get off the road and take a walk and find some peace. Get yourself away from that, that madness for a few minutes. It's really that pavement, and the riding on top of that is the illusion. It is ephemeral, it is temporary, it can be washed out by a minor flood and rebuilt over and over and over again. And what do they say the definition of madness is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, that pretty much explains road building in California, I guess, or in general. But, well, I want to wish you all, we had blessings over these holidays. I had a wonderful solstice. I did not do a solstice message this year, but you can look back on my past videos and find a solstice message. But a blessed cosmic new year to those of you who celebrate the solstice as your new year, as do I. And a wondrous, joyful, and a peaceful new year. If you can find peace wherever you can, find it. Find those still moments in your life, and well, occasionally enjoy a walk around.